What's going on, guys? Sam Richards, Isolation Movement here. I'm going to bring you a short video today because I wanted to talk about something to do with SARMs, the topic that started this channel really built my subscriber base, and one of the areas obviously of fitness which is exploding at the moment has been for the last couple of years or so since they've been released to the public unofficially. And I want to talk to you about the big issues with SARMs, and one in particular which is suppression, and what to do about it, why it is obviously a silent killer of your gains, and how to use SARMs without being affected by suppression to the point of having to cut your cycle short, or to the point of having some serious life issues which cause disruption to your work, your relationships, and your general lifestyle. Now, I'd love to be able to say this is an easy to digest video, but the problem is this is going to have some points in it which you're going to have to reconsider in terms of your approach to SARMs, your approach to your fitness and anabolics in general. The main reason why I say this is because SARMs are seen as a gateway to the world of anabolics. They're seen as the sort of low-cal version of steroids in a way, in that you can take them, they will add mass to your body, and you can achieve supernatural results by using these compounds. Now, those statements aren't wrong. You know, in a time frame of say 8 weeks, I gained I think about 9 pounds in total, which isn't that much, but in terms of 2 months, that's more than you'd expect from a natural trainer. But what's the issue? The issue is suppression. This is the issue that's been floating the forums for weeks, months, years. It's the issue where people can't quite get their head around why they're suppressed and why they feel like they can't get out of bed, why they feel like shit, and really what's wrong with their motivation. There are a couple of forms of suppression here, one of which is testosterone, of course, one of which is estrogen. I'm going to talk to you about which one you need to watch out for, what might be affecting you, and exactly how to get around these issues right now. So let's kick the video off by talking about SARMs in general. So these are anabolic compounds, selective androgen receptor modulators. What they do is they bind to the androgen receptors much the same way that testosterone would do, or other chemicals, of course, or hormones, other things that float around in your body. And what they do is they basically create a stimulus for growth. They cause muscle growth by latching onto these androgen receptors and fueling them. Now, one of the things to bear in mind with SARMs is that they are not testosterone, they are not a steroid, they are not a male hormone. So what happens when they latch on? Well, this is a foreign body, but it mimics how testosterone works and how steroids work. So your body is still going to send signals to shut down its natural testosterone production, because to the body, this chemical, this compound, is mimicking testosterone. So it's thinking, well, why am I producing my own, this is doing the job, this is absolutely fine, shut off my production. This will happen probably in around, I'd say 30% of cases. You'll have full shutdown of the testosterone production system, and that's going to be in the higher dose cases anyway, so it's probably even less of a percentage. Now, suppression is another aspect where it will say, okay, we've got a bit of this exogenous hormone floating around. We don't need to produce as much, so it will ramp down its production, likely somewhere between 20% and sort of 70% of the normal natural testosterone production. This is normal. This will likely happen to you unless you're microdosing, in which case it's not really worth doing these compounds in general. Microdosing will achieve not very much. Yes, milligram per milligram, they're stronger than steroids. Do they have the same effects? No. You're not going to avoid it. However, you can reduce the effects of suppression. The way you do this is by adding a testosterone base. This links back to the big issue with SARMs, in that people use SARMs because they can't get their hands on androgenic steroids. Anabolic androgenic steroids, they cannot get their hands on them. So what do? They buy SARMs because you can buy them over the counter. That's great, that's brilliant. It's just order it online, it comes next week. And I'll get an AI as my PCT as well, because everyone's saying that's fine, let's not read up on it, let's just order them. Then what happens? They get hit by suppression, they take their AI thinking it's going to do something. They don't have PCT on hand because they're not clever, they don't read any articles, they don't watch any videos about this, they don't listen to reason. They think the experimental guy on Reddit who said that he didn't get suppressed after 50, 100 milligrams per day of Rad 140 is the person's telling the truth, not everybody else in the industry, not all the world-class bodybuilders, not all the professionals who actually know about this kind of thing. So they go ahead, they take their AI, they crash their estrogen. Okay, you've got two compounds now, two hormones in your body which are shut down, which aid muscle growth and health in general. Then they cycle off, they order their PCT, they take a natural PCT in the meantime because they don't have anything to hand, and generally their lifestyle crumbles. What does testosterone do? Well, testosterone will basically replace your body's natural production and mean that you won't feel that suppression. Beyond the fact that you will have obviously atrophy of the testicles, you will not feel any suppression at all. You feel absolutely fine. Feel just as normal. You'd add a testosterone base at a TRT level, somewhere between 50 to 150 milligrams per week of testosterone. So if you can't get your hands on AAS, to be honest, you're going to have to deal with the suppression issue. You can't likely get your hands on any other things which are going to help you, so deal with the suppression, take tiny doses which will do basically nothing for you, or stick it out till you go to PCT. Now then, if you are one of those who's smart enough to actually have access to everything that you need, the further step that you can take to combat the final stage really of suppression, which is the atrophy issue, is to take HCG. This is something that I didn't take when I was on my first AAS cycle, and I regretted it. The reason being because you can feel it, it's not pleasant, it is obviously a bit of a confidence killer, and just generally it's nice to be able to have everything working normally and not having any issues. There were no other issues other than atrophy, but that was one of those small issues that just played on your mind a bit. And for the price of HCG, for how easy it is using insulin needles, I would highly suggest you use this. I use 250 IUs every other day, and that gives me roughly about 800 IUs, I guess, per week to play with. So that really helps. That just gives me an extra sort of feeling of normality, and it means that it maintains everything naturally while I am on. So test base and HCG will be your best bets. Can you use HCG without tests? No, it will not really do much for you. I mean, you could do, but I wouldn't recommend it if I'm honest. I think that having a natural testosterone base will be a much better first step to combat these issues. So you're in the situation where you can't get your hands on testosterone, you can't get your hands on HCG. You're pretty much going to have to brave this out, guys. I'm sorry. The only thing that you can do is maybe stick to a lower dose range, sort of between just under the lowest recommended dose and somewhere just over, working up towards a medium dose. So for Rad 140 that may be 8 milligrams to maximum of 15 milligrams per day, but you'd likely still see considerable suppression on those. But as long as you have yourself a pharma grade PCT of Nolvadex or Clomid, you will be fine at the end of it. You've just got to deal with a few symptoms of suppression which may cause you issues in the meantime. There is one saving grace, and this is where the health side of bodybuilding comes in, and where many people neglect the key factors in how you feel. Everyone has protein, everyone has pre-workout, everyone has aminos, but does everyone have a health supplement stack? Now in my last video, my training video, I quickly ran you through my health stack, what I'm using now. I'm using Cardio Defense by Swiss Bioenergetics. I'm using Live 52, I'm using a multivitamin, and I'm using omega-3s. All of those work in different ways to basically maintain my heart health, my organs, my brain function, just everything in terms of my energy levels as well. CoQ10, which is in the Cardio Defense, is one of the best supplements I've ever taken and truly makes a difference to my lifestyle. It brings my energy levels back up, it makes me feel constantly upbeat, I don't need as much coffee. I actually only drink about 2 to 3 coffees a day when I'm taking CoQ10, usually I'll take 5 to 6. So it's a massive difference to your lifestyle. And you need to make sure you're focusing on these, because if your health, if you're not getting the micronutrients, if you're not eating correctly, if you're not eating enough fresh fruit, veg, if you're not taking these things supplementally, if you can't get your hands on them in their raw form, then you're not going to feel okay generally. You're going to have deficiencies which will play into your suppression and cause you further issues. So I would highly recommend CoQ10, multivitamins, omega-3s, obviously the best quality ones you can get. However, if you can't get great quality ones, it doesn't matter, take them anyway. and some liver support and all those things which may be affected by what you're doing and may just need some general upkeep, because if those are sort of affected, they are going to have an effect on your mood, on your energy levels, and on how you live your life generally and how motivated you are to carry on with this journey. Now then, talking about the issue of estrogen suppression, as I hinted at the start of this video. This is an issue which shouldn't be an issue for users of anabolics. They should learn how their body reacts to estrogen conversion when they use testosterone. They should understand how to dose an AI correctly, how things feel when they're going downhill. However, the problem is that people have started to use AIs, Arimidex, Arimistane, as a form of PCT, or to use it on cycle with SARMs, which do not convert to estrogen. My main theory behind the issue with estrogen and gyno while using SARMs is one that I think makes sense, that I've had a few people agree with me on this within the fitness community, and which may be worth considering. I'm not saying that it's fact, of course. I've not done any research into this, but just something to consider. When you first start a cycle of SARMs, what happens is that the SARM itself attaches to the androgen receptor. Now, what is on that androgen receptor, or what is in your body at that time floating around trying to find it? Natural testosterone. So what happens when it gets there and all your first wave of natural testosterone that's still left from before you started the cycle, because it's still floating around your body, it doesn't happen instantly. What happens when it can't attach? Well, obviously it will try and fight to attach, and then when it can't, it's got to convert to something. You can't just have floating around testosterone. You can, of course, free testosterone, but it generally doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that if it can't attach to the receptor, it will just become free testosterone until the point where you stop your cycle. That's not how it works. What will likely happen is a percentage of that will convert to DHT, a percentage of that will convert to estrogen. What then happens is you experience the light shedding that RAD causes and that a lot of SARMs cause. You experience the form of puffiness in the nipples. You see loads of issues which come with high sort of estrogen levels. Then you reactively dose an AI, and then you kill that, or you stop it from converting when most of it's already converted anyway. It doesn't work. The estrogen symptoms still persist, and then you use it for a PCT thinking that you've got all this testosterone to bring back, when in reality it's been there your whole cycle. It's not going to boost your test levels, it's not going to do anything of the such. AI for a PCT is useless. It does not act in the same way that Nolvadex or Clomid do. But this is just the point I want to make. If you are seeing SARMs as a way of accessing this world without the use of AAS, then you are unfortunately sorely mistaken. You will face some issues which, in my mind, make SARMs far less valuable than AAS. They are more expensive. You still need access to a lot of the things that are accessed through AAS supply. And unfortunately, if you can't get your hands on those, then you're shit out of luck when push comes to shove and you are affected. If you can't have all of these things on hand beforehand, then you are asking for trouble and asking to lose more gains than you could possibly have gained on a cycle anyway. So you need to make sure that you're doing the right thing, you're being careful, you are using them as a tool. They will not build much muscle alone, they'll build a considerable amount, more than natural, but nowhere near the amount of proper AAS. So if I were you, I would look into using a test base. I would look into doing this in a much healthier way, in a way that supports your body and means that it can continue as normal, and possibly even looking at doing a standard cycle rather than using this as a leapfrog jump, because the two are very different in my experience, as I'll be informing you in my next video, which will be a cycle review of my testosterone and RAD 140 cycle and how that went and my effects and how I felt. Similar to my RAD 140 review I did originally, which you all loved, of course. So I'll be coming back with some more information on that, with second part of my isolation FAQs, and this was just a quick video to give you some hints and tips on how to overcome suppression, how you might circumvent it completely, and maybe the doses to go for if you want to minimise the chances of suppression. Obviously each SARM is different, there are constantly new ones coming out, so do research yourself. But otherwise, if you have any direct questions, drop them below in the comments, click one of my other videos, and like and subscribe to be updated with new videos which are coming, as you can tell, much more frequently during this isolation period.